else.
More than anything else in her life, she wants to see Paris.
I'm going to move on to now, I suppose, slightly later in my horror movie career, in terms of what was getting me into and what became what would scare me. And this is a theme for me in terms of all of my entertainment, actually, all the stuff I like doing when it comes to reading, playing computer games and watching films, is I'm a sucker for world building. If you can have a really good world building concept that's got some extra lore in there for you to go away and look at and research, and that's got some extra implied depth at the very least, then I'm probably going to follow you along almost anywhere. And this absolutely grabbed me in the late 90s, 1999 in particular, 2000, with the release of the Blair Witch Project.
Oh yeah.
I was well, first of all, I was confused because again, I never saw it in the cinema. I didn't see it until I was working a couple of years later at Blockbuster, and so I could, we got 7 free rentals a week, so I rented it and took it home and watched it. But I just remember being in an English class, and there was a girl at the front, and funnily enough, her name was Ruth. And Ruth was
Good name.
very good name. Ruth was just wide-eyed. She was just frantic, talking about this film that she'd been to see and how it was based on real footage. No. So it was real footage. It was real footage that had been edited together.
Oh, right, yeah, the found footage thing.
All this sort of stuff, the found footage element. And then she had a book that I later had to go and get called The Blair Witch Dossier. I think it's called The Blair Witch Files, which fills in so many of the blanks. It's got props that they've built seemingly just for this book. You've got the film canisters as they were recovered. You've got Heather's diary. You've got all this stuff. And it was put together like it's something that had actually happened. And it was almost like I in my head I was almost at the point of planning a field trip. If I could have flown to Maryland and started to explore, I probably would have. But at the same time, I was also quite glad that I didn't have the money to fly to Maryland, because it meant I wasn't going to get trapped in the woods with a time-bending witch.
Yeah, that's so weird, because that is really not my experience with the Blair Witch. So my experience with the Blair Witch was I never bought that it was real.
No.
Ever. And I was kind of, the marketing around it was genius, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And because it was all it was the first really internet marketing that had done this, where they'd set up a website, and they'd made it kind of this story that was real, and that people were kind of talking about it like it was real.
Yeah.
And I did enjoy it. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it, but it didn't capture me, if that makes sense. I think I just watched it, was kind of bored, and then it kind of ended very suddenly. And I know that's the point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just didn't love it.
Well, and that is absolutely fine, and that's obviously why and hopefully how these conversations will continue, and were continuing in our private lives prior to us starting to record this stuff. But I mean, in terms of the marketing for Blair Witch, it wasn't just the website and this question of was it real or wasn't it not real, but also they produced a TV documentary that aired, I think, was it on the Sci-Fi Channel possibly, the night before the film was released in the cinemas. I think it was called was it The Legend of the Blair Witch or something?
Yeah, I watched it.
Yeah,
I watched it. I mean, I did. I got totally into it at the time.
Yeah.
But I was just afterwards, I was like...
The Curse of the Blair Witch. It was released on the Sci-Fi Channel, 12th of July, 1999. There you go. And I think actually also someone has kept a digital backup of the website. You can still visit it. I mean, by today's standards, it's a rubbish website.
I remember visiting the website and kind of reading up about the Blair Witch and all the little... they were wooden dolls, weren't they?
Yeah.
And
exactly.
they're
Yeah,
like
the mannequins and
totems and
but
stuff.
but
Yeah.
also there was the time bending theories. There's this question of like whether or not people were different members of the team were experiencing time in different ways, which went on to explore more in the Blair Witch a couple of years ago, in a much
Did
more
you see the
literal way.
tree one?
The tree one.
There's a sequel. There's a Blair Witch was like the Blair Tree or something.
Oh, Book of Shadows.
Blair Witch Book of Shadows. That was it.
Yeah, well, actually, that was a film I was going to mention as one of my absolute least favorite films of all time.
Good. I didn't enjoy that one either.
No, but at the same time, I kind of appreciate it. So I I do own it partly because I'm a completionist in terms of movie collections.
You shouldn't support it if you hate it that much.
Well, come on. Well, back when it was released, it wasn't really a matter of supporting or not supporting, in that sense. So I didn't feel like it was that was the issue. But the film intrigued me, and this is where we come back to this thing of how I think I like to unpack and understand the workings of a horror film as much as anything else. I like the initial watching, but then I also want to appreciate the craft, and I appreciate the craft of Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2. I appreciate the fact that, you know, they were asked to release this film 1 year after the Blair Witch. It was a repurposed script, just because I think Artisan Studios or whoever else was releasing it had this in their back pocket and went, okay, well, just slap the Blair Witch on it. I mean, there's not even a Book of Shadows in the film, for crying out loud. But it became a meta comment on the reaction to the film. So precisely the reaction that my friend back in high school had, that wide-eyed excitement, that sort of quick, get to Maryland, go into the woods, and they had that at the beginning of Blair Witch 2, where you have the sheriff with a bullhorn.
Oh my God, you remember so much more about it. I've literally blanked it from my mind. It was so bad.
No, but that's the thing. See, this is the thing. I'm morbidly fascinated by the film, where it's like, there is no witch. You need to leave these woods immediately. This kind of thing. So there was an attempt at a meta commentary, but I didn't think that was necessarily. I thought that was also world breaking in the same way that the first film, if you got into it, was this mystery that you felt as though you could explore other tendrils of. The second film totally positioned it in a fictional world because these people were not real, and so on and so forth. But then also as well, I do appreciate the craft of some of the stuff that they put into it. So on the VHS release, certainly, I think there was The Secret of Esova, which was The Secret of Reverse, backwards. And so you could play certain scenes backwards, and I know, and it was pulling that sort of 70s and 80s records, play the record backwards, and you'll hear Satan, that kind of thing. And so there were moments where they digitally manipulated, and so one of them that stands out is there's a moment when the Wiccan girl is spinning around a bedpole, and she's holding on to it, and as she sort of spins around, behind her, the drawer handles on a chest of drawers switch from being ordered in 2 rows of, I don't know, 6 or something, to being a pentangle on the wardrobe, back to being two rows of 6. Again, nothing to do with the Blair Witch. It's just pentangles, moral panic, 1980s, 1970s America, in so many ways, Satanism and all this sort of stuff. But I appreciate what the director thought was, well, I'm going to try something interesting, and so I appreciate it. But I also really hate the film because it just pulled me out of it.
Yeah, but this is the thing where I'm like, I kind of think that if the film, it's like, if the product, no matter what the intentions are, if the product is bad and adds nothing to your life, why are you obsessed with it? Does it entertain you to watch? Does the thing as it exists do anything? No, you've got a meta appreciation of it.
Yeah, but you see that's fine. This is just how you appreciate things like the love story in Terminator.
It's good. Because it's good.
I find myself wondering about how it is that films meet you where you're at and you can plug into them. So I just appreciate that in terms of filmmaking, but I don't like it.
Yes.
My realm is the present.
More than anything else in her life, she wants to see Paris.